With all the talk about raw video capabilities and 8K with all the cameras that are coming out in mid-2020, this camera couldn't be any more different, really. But nonetheless, I still think this camera is relevant and there's a lot to learn from it. I mean, I've been using this camera for 2 months straight now, a lot more than I ever originally planned to. And in that time, it's taught me a lot. Perhaps most importantly from that, it's taught me a new way of looking at memories and how I choose to capture them. So the adventure with this camera starts, well, it starts how most of my videos start, me sitting at my desk, trying to figure out exactly how this camera kind of works. I even went so far as to reading the camera manual. It turns out there's actually quite a bit of information in a camera manual. Within the first 24 hours of using this camera, I was equally stressed as I was excited because of one reason, and that is, it's the tape. I only had one cassette of tape, and within the first few moments with it, I managed to get the tape jammed in the camera, which resulted in this much tape being wasted, being lost, because I don't know. Ultimately, I had a bunch of problems with tape and with the mechanism, with the read-write head. This camera, it's not mine, it's a friend's. I was pretty sure within the first 24 hours actually that I'd managed to break it. Though, luckily enough, and quite apparently, given the title of this video isn't I broke a camera, the camera was fine after a few days and I started shooting with it and the results were... It's quite a beautiful aesthetic, and personally I enjoyed it most at this time of the day, during twilight, the final dying moments of light. I really like the look of it. In my opinion, these are some of the nicest shots that I got from the camera. And I attribute that mostly to the low dynamic range and soft lighting of this time of the day. As well as that, with these images being silhouettes, well, that means there's not that much detail to convey. And largely, most of my favorite shots that I shot on 8mm tape were low detail scenes. The lens isn't really the best quality, and whilst it may be an analog system that's definitely way better than the digital counterparts of the time, it's still 480p, quite impressive high quality 480p that, dare I say, works on a 1080p timeline, but still, it's 480p. It's such a special and unique aesthetic, especially in the way that it makes any footage you shoot with it really look like it was shot 2 to 3 decades ago. And that's it really, that's why I wanted to play around with this format, for the aesthetic. Which leads me on to the question at hand. What makes the footage look and feel that way? Personally, I think there's 2 main things at play here. The first being, like I just said, it's analog. Explaining how analog video works is quite complicated, and I just about broke my brain when I was researching this topic. It's quite a lot. So I'm not going to go through with any details, but in summary, what matters to us is that there's no compression up until you write the footage onto your computer using a capture device. And that's what gives us that high quality 480p. But before you even plug it into your computer, what's also quite important to the look is the storage media that you have the footage on. Tape is temperamental, and especially so when you're using a camera that probably wasn't intended to be used in the 2020s on tape that was bought, well, back when the camera was meant to be used. And with that, you end up with a bunch of different little artifacts and peculiarities that are very individual to tape, very distinctive. And that gives the footage a kind of look in a way. Kind of like how film does, except not really. That's probably a terrible analogy, but you sort of get the point. It's its own thing. But yeah, the things that I've mentioned so far, well, they're quite attainable. Just look around here on YouTube and you'll find several tutorials telling you how to get that tape kind of look on your video footage, and they all work, they're all pretty convincing. But the second thing, I think, is a little bit harder to replicate, because that part really does come from the design of camcorders. There's an idea that I've mentioned in my videos before, and that's that a camera really just tells you how it wants to be used. And camcorders, even this significantly newer camcorder, they ask you to shoot in a way that's pretty much perfect You don't hold a camcorder like you hold really any other camera because of those unique ergonomics. Shots from a camcorder really feel as if they're coming from somebody's perspective, and that's because, well, they are. Those ergonomics also make way for dad cam and very tacky zooms, and there's all these features on the cameras that combine with that, which makes for so much stupid fun. And going hand in hand with that handheld shooting, I suppose, is another reality of tape, in that for quite a lot of people, the footage would then go into VHS and you'd watch it on TV when you want to, and that's it. No editing, which teaches you to shoot in sequences and effectively edit in camera by being discerning about what and how you choose to shoot. One of the key things this camera taught me is to shoot in sequences, where you have to start and stop recording for every take and sort of let it continuously go. There's no cuts really, other than when you press start or stop, which can be quite tricky, but I think it's a good exercise in your ability to sort of think ahead and think of what you're shooting as you're shooting it. Think about the edit in the end, but not really the edit, because there's no edit. Although, well, one problem with this is that you may end up... It's tricky, but I think it's a good skill to practice, and this camera sort of forces you to practice it. It's really got a quality to it where you just, it feels, I don't know, I feel like filming memories and filming moments with it. It makes those moments more precious. And that way of looking at shooting your real life moments as if they were scenes, as if they were part of a narrative, well, it makes for a better story. To best conclude my thoughts for this video, I suppose what I'm trying to say is, if you have the chance to try out a tape Handycam, try it. You might learn something. I've learned a few things, and it's changed just slightly how I shoot with my digital cameras. And on that note, if you want to learn more, subscribe to this channel. I talk about cameras a lot more than a normal person would. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Do all the YouTube things, please do, and check out these the end clips that I filmed on the camera.